Hi everyone. Now the question has been asked, can I explain more about that list of things that can make us feel stressed? Stresses. That's right. So I'm going to run through our list with some brief examples to give you an idea of just how they can affect us. There are 10 commonly known types of stress that can affect all humans. You will find that list in the description section below. Reducing our overall stress levels is not necessarily the result of finding that one big stressor, but by reducing all types of stress that are impacting on us until the total or the net amount is reduced below a level where our body can cope. And over time, our nervous system begins to desensitize and the cortisol stress hormone levels gradually drain away. Now, the stress response isn't as powerful, and therefore those feelings of stress and anxiety aren't as intense. A little from here and a little from there in all areas of our life. And that reduction gives our body even more opportunity to rest, repair, and desensitize. And now we are really making progress that even we can recognize. Okay, here's the list of stresses or those things that can create stress in our life. Number one, mental and emotional stress. Now, this has everything to do with the natural reaction of the stress response, triggering that fight or flight reaction. This creates specific hormones and chemicals which alter the way we think and process our thoughts, feelings, and emotions in order to get ourselves through what is perceived to be a dangerous period. Unfortunately, when it goes on too long without time in a day to be able to decompress and get back to a balanced and emotional state, as we've been talking about, it temporarily changes how we look at the world around us and function. It is also completely reversible if we only know what to do and are willing to do something about it. Now, physical stresses is the next one, and that includes pain from an injury, long periods of intense physical exertion, surgery, infections, burns, giving birth, big one, broken bones, anything like that. Ongoing heavy manual labour or intense sport events, such as running a marathon, even the long-term physical strain from being overweight. They all trigger our stress response, first in order for us to be able to perform any physical events, and then to help us to recover. Double whammy. That's right, two sides of the coin. But we all need time for it to calm down, rest and repair for the next time it is needed. If we don't have that time, then we become fatigued. Now, food triggers. Food is made up of chemicals, minerals, vitamins and enzymes. Any nutritional deficiency, including not drinking enough water, will always trigger a degree of stress response, as it is the body's way to get our attention to make us address the potential problem. Consuming too much glucose in the food or drinks we consume always creates a huge glucose spike and then a crash, as the extra insulin produced to clear the high glucose levels takes it all out of the system. There's the spike and followed by the crash, which always triggers our ancient stress response because they are both considered a threat to our health. Surplus glucose sitting in our arteries is also deemed to be an extreme threat to our health, which triggers the stress response every time. It is not being removed because we have become insulin resistant from consuming too much glucose. And what about the sun? What is marketed by the industry as the evil hormone called cholesterol, among many other things, converts the sun's rays, which land on our skin, to a hormone called vitamin D3. Without this, we die. That's right. A lack of it means our stress response is always going off to get us to fix the problem. Now, just for interest, 80% of us are deficient. That's right. And get this, all mental health issues come with extreme low levels of vitamin D3. That includes many returned servicemen. Keep that in mind. What about gut imbalance? Without a healthy gut, again, we are dead. Ongoing stress in our life and the chemicals which that produces kills off the specific beneficial gut bacteria we need to make specific hormones and even manage our immune system and much more. Every time the stress response is activated, our stomach shuts down production of essential hydrochloric acid, for goodness sake. A common result of that is reflux, irritable bowel disease, and stomach and gut bacterial infections. Poor breathing habits. When we feel stressed, we tend to breathe from the chest area, head back, trying to maximize the volume of air we are taking in. Consequently, we are often short of air and therefore often feeling breathless, which in itself is very stressful, which just adds to the stress load. But ironically, that breathing position is also a signal to our reptilian brain to confirm the need for the stress response to continue, as breathing like that is exactly what we are designed to do when we are stressed. Again, ironically, but we take in more air by far by breathing from the stomach area. That's right, which is also a signal to the body to calm down. Now, number 6, environmental stresses. Night shift workers are working through the night when their ancient body clock is programmed to repair the body after a day's activity. Consequently, the repair and other functions are not performed, creating a huge internal stress reaction. More on that in the sleep section. And then there's hot and cold exposure. If we're not dressed right, our body will ramp up into a stressful experience in order to get our attention to dress properly or get undercover. And then there's lifestyle, work, leisure, or everyday living. Now here is a true English study. 2 guys head off to work. One is a stunt pilot working about a 1 hour's drive from home. He starts his day with a blood pressure of 122/80. The second works in London in an office, 3 hours drive away. He starts his day with a blood pressure of 135/90. 2 hours later, the pilot takes off in his plane and barrels around the sky. Very dangerous, exciting activity. His blood pressure climbs to 165/100. Meanwhile, our commuter is still driving and his blood pressure has climbed to 145/90. After the flight and for the rest of the day, the pilot's blood pressure drops to 128/85. While at work all day, our commuter's blood pressure stays elevated. On the drive home that evening, his blood pressure elevates to 170/100. At bedtime, the pilot's blood pressure is 120/75, while the commuter's blood pressure is still elevated at 140/90, and he finds it difficult to sleep. The next morning, his blood pressure is still elevated at 135/90. He simply doesn't have enough time in the 24 hours to naturally reduce his stress levels, so they accumulate. And that's lifestyle for you. And that is something we can do something about. Now, what about toxic overload? It could be anything. Alcohol, air pollution such as continual smog or smoke, or heavy metals, cleaning agents, cosmetics, bacteria and fungi, mold, that's a good one. High sugar diet, that's one we miss all the time. And even nutrient deficiencies is something we miss. And ongoing stress levels from our lifestyle can make us less resilient and therefore more susceptible to toxic overload. New and old infections, virus, bacteria, fungi, anything inside our body which is not meant to be there will trigger the stress response every time and keep it activated to some degree until the danger is gone. Now, unless you know, this could be for a lifetime. Imagine that. Stressed for a lifetime because we have an infection in us that we never even knew. And here's number 10, new technologies. This is interesting. Our first biggest human problem started way back in time when our ancestors discovered the benefits of fire, cooking and light. Now, for the first time ever, it meant they didn't have to go to sleep when the sun set. But that created a huge, dangerous problem inside their body, which exists in each of us today, if we're going to bed long after the sun sets. More on that in the sleep section. Even now, us humans are designed to go to sleep within hours of the sun setting and rise at dawn. Then there is the developmental dangers and ongoing mental health issues resulting from the use of iPhones as young babies and up to the late teenagers, and the highly sensational, threatening volatile and highly manipulative news media presentations, purposely constructed to trigger the stress response of the viewer or reader in order to get them connected, in order to gain more viewers and therefore advertising cash. So there we go. And in the next video, we will have a look at some of those typical signs and symptoms of stress that we've talked about. Sometimes it's not a mystery. All right, we'll see you later. Bye-bye.